Okay, take two, October 28th. It's gray, crappy, and raining outside. You see it's below 60 in here, so it's much more cooler than that outside. It's probably 51 or so. Working on the kingpins today. We, as you saw in the other picture, it was a big thick nut like so, filled with welding up the kingpin, the sleeve, which it is. That's a tube, a sleeve with threads on the outside, and then the nut itself, right? And that nut being too big to clear our rotor bolts here, right? If this big nut was up here, we'd have trouble. Actually, we might clear it on this one, but we wouldn't clear it on this one. And as you can see here, we've got a lot of weight jacked into this corner and a lot of weight taken off of this corner because the engine's there, so we need to take weight off. Not as heavy in that corner as we were here. It's probably changed a little bit once we get this thing on our scales after getting everything rearranged, fuel tank, all that stuff. We got radiator back there that we didn't have before, so we haven't really adjusted, changed anything in the tuning of this thing. If you look at this and it looks a little screwy, why are the yokes so high and why are they only half on the axle? Well, this car came with the little tiny Paul Martin brakes, right? That we've got here. Piston anvil, right? I mean, you can see this thing is literally almost touching that kingpin. What happened was the axle was obviously a lot wider. When Scotty got the Kelgate brakes and wanted to use them, there's a piston on both sides to keep the track width on the outside the same as it was with the small tiny little brake where the tire could be, inboard a lot further because the caliper's not as big. He had to cut the axle down. What he did is he fixtured up these yokes where it was stock standard and then cut the axle and moved things in. And what it did is it ended up going, that yoke ended up coming down that axle tube. So as it came down, obviously, right, it's on an angle. You're going to go literally, you're not moving up, but with that tube longer, it'd have been higher and it would have been further out this way. So that's what he did. I know it looks crazy, but he did a good job. Me personally, if I ever strip this thing back down, I'll take a piece of this 1.25 inch tube and cut probably a wedge of it and weld it in here just because it looks goofy. But guys, I've run the guts out of this go-kart for years. Scotty ran it for at least 5 years, 5 or 6 years. I've run it for since 2006 or 2007. And we've bounced up onto the banking at MIS. We've around Daytona multiple times, all over the place. We haven't had any issues. I keep my eye on it pretty regular. There's no cracks. No, we've never had to re-weld on it. So it was done right, and I know it kind of it might look a little crazy, but I'm fully confident in that. We went 100 and almost 140, 139 miles an hour with the front end parts just like that. Now that I'm going with replacing this stuff, I can show you exactly how sloppy this stuff is. Part of that, let me grab right on the stub axle of the spindle. That's all kingpin. This here is the sloppiness of the bearings in the hub and the bearings on the stub axle. So you add all of it together, and that's quite a bit of slop. Now, the reason I haven't fixed it in the past is, one, it's kind of a pain in the rear. Two, when the cart's on the ground and the weight's on it, it doesn't move, right? So, but we have been having some very bad wear on the inside of this tire, and it's got to do with all that sloppiness in there. So what we'll do is when we get her all done, we'll check and make sure everything's straight up and down, just like we did with the zip cart, right? The vintage zip cart. We'll make sure that the tires are literally straight up and down, so we're not getting one of them burning up the inside. This tire here was on that side on the other set of wheels, and you can see this here where this was the inside. It was rotating just like this on this side, worn out quite a bit more I mean, you look at that profile and it's worn out a lot more here than there. Granted, we do a lot of clockwise racing, but with this being the outside front corner, but still, you know, it looks like this one here might have been wearing a little bit more than that, but not much. It's wearing that side wears pretty flat, but this side we can't say that. So when we get the spindles on, we'll get the digital angle gauge on here, just like we did with the zip cart, and I'll tune it in. We'll tune it in. I am not afraid of cutting and re-welding. That's why we bought welders. So no big deal, and you shouldn't either. If you're confident and competent with your welding and stuff, man, listen. I wouldn't want anyone else doing it with my rear end on the line. No, sir. I'd rather take the chances with my own skill level. But there you go. I first knocked it down to be able to see the outside diameter of that threaded tube, hoping maybe I could just unscrew this thing, right? But I mean, there's it looks like there's probably 2/3 of that nut is weld, the original nut on there, so it wouldn't come off. So what we did is we just started knocking it down until we got a 5/8 wrench to go on it. And so we also compared the length of the threads here to what we've got here, and folks, it's the same. So like I said, I did contact the folks at MXK about sending me upper adjustable the sleeves and new kingpins, and I just would make up that part of it myself, but got antsy, decided, well, it's crappy and raining, I'm not going to get a whole bunch done today, but I can at least get these kingpins figured out. And so, one down, one to go. I'm going to get back to work. Hang in there. God bless y'all. The rain will disappear sooner or later.